Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Robert Hight. I'm the presiding judge of the Sacramento Superior Court. We have the key players in this courthouse project here with me, and I'd like to just briefly introduce them. We have Congresswoman Doris Matsui, Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones, President Pro Tem of the Senate, Leader Steinberg, Assemblyperson Roger Dickinson, Robbie Hunter of the State Construction Trade Council, and Denton Kelly, who's the managing partner of LDK Ventures, who plan on ultimately developing the project. In addition, I would like to acknowledge Councilman Cohen, who is here, who has been of immense help in this project with the city. Thank you, Councilman. We have Kevin Farrar of the State Building Trades Council, and Alan Hirsch of DKL Ventures. Today is a lot like Christmas Day. I'm exceedingly very excited because we are on the road to build a new criminal courthouse. The state has acquired the 261 acres that you see, 261, I wish, 2.61 acres of land immediately behind me. This acquisition of the land was done through then Assemblymember Jones, now Insurance Commissioner Jones, who passed legislation that authorized the purchase of the land, and so that money's been sitting there, and escrow closed last week. We would not be here but for the hard work of Senator Steinberg and Assemblymember Dickinson, who talked politely to the governor and coerced him into giving the state $27 million for the architectural drawings in order to be prepared to do the construction. The existing Shaber Courthouse was built 50 years ago when Governor Pat Brown was governor. It is unsafe. We are busting at the seams. We bring in some 120,000 jurors a day, a week, I'll get it, a year, and have some 1,300 trials a year. We are out of space, and it is exceedingly unsafe. As currently planned, the new courthouse will have 44 criminal courtrooms and be 16 acres. 16 floors. I'll finally get on here. With approximately 400,000 square feet. The existing courthouse will be retrofitted for civil courtrooms and for staff who are now in numerous buildings around the courthouse. We are going to build a new courthouse here. Make no mistake about that. The next time that we're all here together will be the ribbon cutting for the new courthouse. It is my pleasure first to introduce Congresswoman Doris Matsui, and I don't want to steal her thunder, but without her hard work and moving Congress, we would not have been able to move the tracks which used to run exactly through this lot and refurbish the existing terminal. Congresswoman.
Thank you very much, Judge Hight. This is a beautiful, beautiful day. We were just here a couple of weeks ago for the renovation of the historic depot. I love this, so we're going to keep coming here and doing all kinds of wonderful things. But this is fabulous, this announcement that escrow has finally closed on this piece of property that the county courthouse will sit on. And it's really, truly wonderful. And a short story is that the federal building, the courthouse behind us, was completed in 1999. So we've been kind of waiting 15 years for you guys. But I will also say this too. This is a special day because we're here, and this is going to be the first tenant here at the Railyards. And in the 90s sometime, there were some people with foresight who decided that the federal courthouse had to be located here because the development is going to be happening in the Railyards. Previously, they thought they were going to put the federal courthouse on Capitol Mall. I am really pleased they didn't do that because it is exciting to be here and be with all my friends here, and every level of government is involved here, from the federal, state, the county, the city, and also private sector. This is what is going to take this whole rail yard to develop successfully. I will also have to say here, as I always say, we're standing on historical roots of Sacramento. It is so exciting. The railroad here, the rail yard is the terminus of the Transcontinental Railroad. And the development here that accrued because of the gold rush in 1849 and establishment of the city was truly remarkable, with the confluence of two great rivers, center of an agricultural region, and commerce that developed here really were the beginnings of our great city of Sacramento. And as we look back on our historical roots, we are now looking at the 21st century and transforming, which is this new era. And you can look around, the bridges are almost completed, the roads are happening. And from my viewpoint from the courthouse, federal courthouse, I could look down and see the progress being made. And it's truly, truly wonderful. And I really do want to thank Leader Steinberg, our soon to be retiring President Pro Tem, and very, very sad. He tells me in 5 days it will be done. But we're sad to see you go because you've done such a magnificent job. And I also have to say thank you to Roger Dickinson, who has kept us focused on this, and I know will keep us focused on the job in the future also. But let me just say this. We did invest $35 million here from the ARA funds, the federal government, and we didn't really do it just for the courthouse, but we had to move the railroad tracks because of the fact that it would be more efficient use of the railroad. And but it created this space here, which is really, truly, truly wonderful. This courthouse, as I said, is the first new tenant here, kind of the gateway, I think I've heard before, to the rail yards development. And once constructed, it will sit next to the historic depot, the light rail that'll be coming by, and also the intermodal district, and all the other things that you've seen, heard about in the newspapers and TV that are going to be happening here in a short time. It's an exciting time. And I just got to tell you that it is a wonderful time here to be in Sacramento as we look forward to the next few years. We're going to be, our commitment to the rail yards in downtown is going to be absolutely monumental. And everybody here has a little piece of it and understands that you're all part of it. And I appreciate you very, very much. And from the people in the federal building, I just have to say, welcome to the neighborhood.
Next, I would like to invite Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones to speak.
Thank you very much, Judge. And I know that when the men and women that Robbie Hunter represents at the building trades build this courthouse, it won't be falling down like that placard there, which just fell down for the 5th time. It's a great pleasure to stand with my friends and colleagues, Congresswoman Matsui, Senate Pro Tem Steinberg, Assemblymember Dickinson, Councilmember Steve Cohn was here earlier, representatives of the courts, both here in Sacramento and statewide, and the leadership of the California Building and Construction Trades Council to celebrate this milestone in a project that has been many, many years in coming. And as Congresswoman Matsui said, this has been an extraordinary collaborative effort between federal, state, and local partners. My own involvement began as a member of the City Council when we put in place the plans for this area, and then as State Assembly member, first representing this area in 2004 in the State Assembly, having the opportunity to chair the Judiciary Committee. One of the first things I did was tour courthouses throughout the state of California. And what I saw firsthand was very, very troubling. We had courthouses like the Shaber Courthouse, which had been built many years ago, that were bursting at the seams, where there were very serious public safety issues associated with the bringing of those that were defendants in criminal cases through public spaces, the same spaces perhaps where their victims were, the same spaces where the juries were. In some cases, those accused of crimes being housed in judges' chambers because there was no other place to go. Seismic issues, issues with regard to dilapidation and other concerns with these buildings. And so, working collaboratively in that period of time, we had a challenge because at that point, the court structures were actually owned by the counties. And the state had set a goal of trying to get those court structures turned over to the state, and that needed to be accomplished before we could convince the state legislature to vote to authorize bond funding to repair and build new courts. And so I was pleased to work with the courts and with other leaders like then Supervisor Dickinson, then Senator Steinberg, to get the legislation passed, both to clear the way for the transfer of the facilities, but then also to author legislation for the bond funding to make possible construction projects like that which is going to go on at this site. And I say it's been a long time coming. It's required a great deal of advocacy and leadership, including the leadership of Senate Pro Tem Steinberg and Assemblymember Dickinson to make sure that we reached this particular milestone. And so it's very exciting because we're going to have an opportunity here to truly serve the public with a state-of-the-art courthouse that's safe, but also meets the needs of the public for justice. And that ultimately is what it's all about. And at the same time, we're going to have a catalyst project, the first project in the Railyards, which will send a signal to everyone else that opportunity is here, it's time to invest now, it's time to move forward with the tremendous plans for development in this area. So I'm very pleased to have played a small part in this project. I will close with just one message because, of course, every moment is an advocacy opportunity, and that is a message to our governor and to the returning leaders and members of the state legislature. When times were tough, the legislature had to take $2 billion out of the court construction funding for projects like this in order to shore up the state budget. That's a debt that needs to be repaid because projects like this need to be accomplished. Projects like this need to be accomplished throughout the state of California. It's important for public safety, it's important for justice, it's important for jobs, it's important for the economy, and I'm confident we can do it. So, Governor, if you're listening, please, when you introduce your next budget, return that $2 billion, and one other thing, make sure it's spent worse first, because when I chaired the Judiciary Committee, I was a little concerned. It turns out that LA and San Francisco have a few more voting members of the legislature than we do. And so I made sure that the legislation was worse first because I wanted that money to be allocated fairly. And that's how it's being allocated here because gosh knows we need it in Sacramento. Thank you very, very much. Congratulations to all our partners.
Thank you, Insurance Commissioner. And next, it is my honor to introduce President Pro Tem of the Senate, Darrell Steinberg, who fought vigorously for our $27 million.
Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Hight. Let me begin by adding my thank yous to all who made this day possible, to you, Judge, and to Judge Connolly, my friend and mentor, for being on it always and making sure that we heard from you and never forgot how important this project is. Thank you, Congresswoman Matsui, for laying the groundwork here with the ARA funding, the infrastructure, and your consistent and steadfast leadership. And Roger Dickinson for partnering with me in your own vision for this project. And Dave Jones for, as you just described very eloquently, for being the lead legislative author on the major bill and for fighting for justice in all respects, but including here. And thank you. And to Robbie Hunter and to the building trades for always reminding us that it is, yes, about high-wage jobs, always. And this is another opportunity to put people to work. And to the city of Sacramento, Steve Cohn and Mayor Johnson and others who have been full partners here in all of this. I think about three things stand out to me here under the umbrella of what I believe to be most important in politics and public policy. The most important quality in public policy is persistence, is never giving up, even when it seems that what you seek to achieve is not possible. And so three things stand out to me. I remember 1992 when I was first elected to the city council and seeing the great, probably very expensive model of what the rail yard development would look like, and how impressed I was by that model. And being told and thinking to myself, geez, in just a year or two or three, we're going to see this come to fruition. And now, of course, it's 22 years later, and yes, I'm leaving public office after that period of time, and we are now just beginning to realize the vision. But that's okay, because this is a community, and this is a state that doesn't give up. We don't take the obstacles and say, well, we better try something else or turn our back. We've moved forward, we found ways, and now we're finally realizing this incredible economic development opportunity in our community and in our state. The second thing that stands out to me is something that Dave Jones alluded to a moment ago, and that is the terrible cuts that the courts have had to suffer over the last number of years. And in part, to keep the courts open, we had to borrow this money from the court construction fund. And that was a very unpopular and unpleasant, maybe necessary thing to do at the time. But Dave is absolutely right. It's time to pay it back. It's time to make sure that projects like this can be fully funded. It's time to make sure that court infrastructure is prioritized, because I've toured the current criminal courts in Sacramento, and these hardworking public servants who protect the public and who dispense justice are having to work in conditions that are not always safe. And frankly, they're not acceptable. And this project has to go forward. But that's persistence again, because our Sacramento judicial leadership constantly put this on the front burner. And when the budget got better, as it did in 2013 and got even better in 2014, they struck, and they struck appropriately. And as a result, we have $27 million. And finally, the thing that strikes me, which is so part of Sacramento, is the way we partner. It is our congresswoman and our federal government. It's our state government. It's our local government. It's our good private developers like the Kellys who care about Sacramento. And now it's that co-equal branch of government, the courts, all joining together to accomplish many things: justice, safety, jobs, economic development. And that is just so quintessential Sacramento. So this might be my last event in Sacramento before the last 5 days, before the 5 days pass. I'm not leaving here, so don't worry. But at least for this chapter, I couldn't think of a better way to end my tenure than to stand here with you and say thank you to a wonderful community and its wonderful partners for making a project like this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Steinberg. Next, we'll have Assemblyman Roger Dickinson, who has been our leader in the Assembly and has fought vigorously for this project.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Judge Hight. And I'm delighted to see so many members of the local bench joining us this morning for this, and staff of the court, because you are the people who ultimately are the reservoirs of justice in our community, and so indispensable to making sure that we have a civil society. I want to join my colleagues who've spoken before me in the praise that they have given those involved in this project. All of those words have been earned. They aren't handed out just ceremoniously, but the work that my colleague, the Senate President Pro Tem Steinberg, has done over the years, not just on this project, but for so many things that are so critical to our community here in Sacramento, is the stuff of legend. And we see the close of an era that we are not likely to see again anytime soon in terms of the integrity and character of public service and the results achieved by a member of the state legislature. And Darrell, I want to extend my thanks personally to you for your help. And so too with Congresswoman Matsui, my immediate predecessor in the Assembly, Commissioner Jones. These are people, frankly, who I consider as having set the standard for what it means to be a true public servant. And I thank them as well for all their work and their contributions to laying the foundation here, as Congresswoman Matsui recounted, and being so steadfast about pursuing not just this project, as Commissioner Jones described, but access to justice across the state of California through facilities that are badly needed. One of the things that I have continuously advocated as a member of the State Assembly is that we need to restore the funding for our third branch of government, the judicial branch. Not because it's something for the judges or the court staff or any of those who hold positions associated specifically with the courts, but because access to justice is so critical to our society. You know, when I think about a new courthouse going here, I think, of course, about the physical structure that will rise from this ground. And I think about the people who will work on it, people in the building trades. We're lucky to have Robbie Hunter with us here this morning. I think about the great partnership with Denton and Larry Kelly, who I've had the great joy of working with, and the transition of McClellan. I think of all that. But mostly I think about the people who will walk through the doors to be served here and at our other facilities that house courts in Sacramento. When I was a law student at UCLA, I spent a quarter helping a judge in Inglewood handle small claims cases. And one of the things I used to do was I would go sit in the hallway before court convened, just to get a sense of how people felt, what they were thinking and what they were saying as they were on the precipice of moving into a venue in which they were often quite uncomfortable and which was quite foreign. It impressed me with how important it is that people have resort to a place where there is an impartial decision maker, where there is a fair process for resolving disputes. Because the truth of the matter is, if you cannot get a restraining order to keep somebody away from you for a week or 2 weeks, if you cannot dissolve a marriage for 6 months or a year, if you cannot get dispute with your business partner resolved that needs judicial review, if you cannot do that, those disputes move outside the courthouse and into the street. That's what happens. I may be the only person standing here this morning among those who are speaking who has had the responsibility for maintaining the courthouse as a county supervisor, the Gordon Shaber Courthouse and all the other facilities we have, and who has in fact stood in the courtrooms in Sacramento County and litigated cases, and now has had the opportunity as a member of the State Assembly to help in a small way guide some of the funding that will come here to see this new courthouse so badly needed built. I'm impressed by the aggregation of those experiences, at how important it is that we are here today, that the quality and character of the experience of those who come into the courts will be immeasurably improved, and the dispensation of justice will be advanced. The only thing I must tell you, though, that's better than an escrow closing is a groundbreaking, and the only thing better than a groundbreaking is a ribbon cutting. And I plan to be here with all of you for both of those in the few short years ahead. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Assemblymember Dickinson. Next, it is my honor to introduce Robbie Hunter, who is president of the State Building Trades Council, and it will be his people who will be building this courthouse.
Good morning. The State Building Construction Trades Council represent in excess of 400,000 construction workers in California, and we're really looking forward to building this courthouse. We have built three courthouses under similar agreements that we have entered into with the I gotta get it this exactly right, the Judicial Council, and we are proud to have worked closely with the Judicial Council as Chief Justice, Senator Pro Tem Leader Steinberg, Senator for Sacramento. Seems like you delivered here, Senator. Governor Braun, and I would particularly like to thank Insurance Commissioner Jones for his early work, and that's the reason we're standing here today. You know, before I took this job, I represented the iron workers in Los Angeles. We built skyscrapers, bridges. We've done the Golden Gate Bridge, Hoover Dam. I mean, our history goes right back into the foundations of this state. We built a Hoover Dam under an agreement, came in 2 years early, several million underneath. And it was done under the same type of agreement here. Use the least amount of people, do it in the least amount of time, do it once, and do it right. That's what we believe in. We believe in putting California kids out of these high schools into construction trades. We're one of the last standing blue-collar opportunities for workers. We're not building cars here no more. We're not making steel. This is one of the places that we should absolutely make sure that these projects are built with California residents. And I've got a story here that I wasn't going to tell, but seeing we're talking about justice and courts and taking it to the streets. I was on a project in LA, and we had this group of contractors that didn't believe that the laws of California counted. They didn't pay Social Security, they didn't pay workers' comp. They had an indentured workforce of young people that they hung their immigration status over their heads to keep them under their thumb. And I'm looking through a chain link fence. There's laws and standards in California on structural steel. Every other floor, we deck the floor. If a guy falls on the outside, he'll go all the way to the street and he's lost. If he goes on the inside, he can only go 2 floors. We put caps on rebar so if they hit the ground, they don't get impaled. And I'm looking at this project, none of those rules are getting followed. And I'm watching the guy in there. There's no bathroom, there's no drinking water. And I'm looking through the fence and I can see this guy screaming at the workers like it's a Roman galleon, and he's walking up and down with a whip and they're beating the drum. And just out of nowhere, he smacked one of the workers in the side of the face. So I don't know what happened, but I'm inside the gate in about 2 seconds, and me and this guy's nose to nose. And I tell him, try hitting me. And we had words, and eventually they got the LAPD, and I left the job. But the next morning we came back with picket signs. We were going to shut that job. And so I went in the office and I said, hey, where's your permits for blocking off the street out here, which they're supposed to have posted? So they were ready for it. As the guy threw a punch, got me. I got him by the windpipe. One of his buddies got me from the back with a baseball bat, and I went down. I took a pretty good kicking. And but anyway, when it was over that night, I ran the union meeting, had a black eye, and I'm chewed up a bit. But the iron workers are like, do you ever see them ads, what's in your wallet, the Vikings? The iron workers are just like that and running the meeting union. So there's 600 of them in there, and they look like the barbarians, and they're coming off their seats. Where's the job? We're going down there, and I'm looking at them all. And here's the part of the story. That membership out there and those blue-collar kids, many of them are from Boyle Heights, Compton, Watts. They didn't have a father that came home with a lunchbox. They're raised by their mothers and their grandmothers. And they've already got a strike, or maybe 2 strike, and they found us, and they found a job, and they found opportunity, and they changed their lives, and they had kids. And I'm thinking, I don't want these guys going down there and going to jail. I don't want these things happening. And I looked back there and I says, right, we're going to beat these guys up. But we're going to beat them up with our lawyers. That's what we're going to beat them up with. And to beat them up with our lawyers, we need courts, we need access. All working people, whether it be a restraining order, to uphold safety laws for construction workers, to do all the things that we need decent courts. And I would absolutely recognize everyone up here today for seeing that we have updated the state courts, giving working people the opportunity for access. We're going to do a project labor agreement with the state to assure that this is built by the fewest amount of people under the lowest bid. And we're looking forward to the partnership. Thank you.
And last, I'd like to introduce Mr. Denton Kelly, who will be the lead developer, and I don't quite know how you're going to follow that.
Well, I tell you how I'm going to follow it. You have to please build that courthouse building so we don't have to face the Robbie Hunter street justice system. So, so please. So good morning and thank you all for the introduction, Judge Hight. As Judge Hight mentioned, my name is Denton Kelly. I'm a partner at LDK Ventures. We are the prospective master developer and future owner of the Railyards. I can tell you on behalf of our entire team, we couldn't be more excited to be taking on this project. It's as much as a responsibility, it's really an honor for us. And one thing is, when my dad and I talk about our business plan going forward, one of the conditions of that business plan is that we really don't want to take on projects that don't have the support of the community. We don't want to be taking on projects that have community acrimony. And this is a project that certainly has complexity. It has a lot of issues that need to be resolved. But ultimately, we feel like this project and we as a team are in a position that we have the support, the collaborative spirit that's going to be required from the electeds, from local community leaders and stakeholders. The current community consensus and momentum on the future direction of our city and the Railyards in particular has never been clearer and has never been more encouraging. It is projects such as this future courthouse building that highlight the collaborative spirit of various community stakeholders that is going to be required for the Railyards to be the iconic success that this city and the region deserve. I would like to thank all of those involved that assisted in the closing of this transaction since its inception, from the city staff to the current owner, Inland, to the local and state elected officials. This transaction required a team effort by all those involved. This transaction would never have occurred were it not for the vision, the patience, and the tenacity of Judge Hight, and that Judge Hight exemplified in this long and complex process. The leadership and cooperation of the elected officials sitting before us today was crucial in making this vision a reality for our community. Specifically, I would like to thank Senate President Pro Tem Leader Steinberg and Assemblyman Roger Dickinson for being the ardent advocates of this project and securing the necessary funds to close the purchase of the transaction as well as the future planning required to build the building. You are both to be commended for your leadership and prudent stewardship of our state's scarce resources. I look forward to the next press conference of where we stand today, which will most certainly be a groundbreaking and then eventually followed by a ribbon cutting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I realize that there are two people who I did not thank, and that is Kurt Childs, who is head of development at the Judicial Council, and Corey Jesperson, who worked tirelessly, twisting arms to help get votes for the bill. That concludes the press conference. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to take them now or later. Okay, thank you.